Dr. White, are we ready? All right. Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Tonight's Board of Education meeting. I'll be chairing the meeting tonight. Dr. Yarborough he's attending remotely, but it's hard to run a meeting attending remotely. He's out of town due to a family matter, but I'm glad he's able to attend here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll just lead that. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible. All right, and before we move into public comment, we're going to move a portion of the superintendent's report up, and then we'll move into public comment right after that. Superintendent Negron.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. I just wanted to take a moment this evening to thank our entire school community. I want to thank our students. I want to thank our teachers. I want to thank our staff, our administrators, our teachers union, as well as the public at large for the extraordinary advocacy for equitable education funding for the New Haven Public Schools throughout this legislative session. I am extremely disappointed in our governor's small increase to the education budget. We know that this will lead to very tough choices, as we can only legally spend what we are allocated by the city, by the state, and by the federal government. My team and I will continue to work very hard to lessen the impact of these cuts. Nonetheless, it will be unavoidable to eliminate central office, teacher, and support staff positions. We will seek to decrease the scope of layoffs while prioritizing student-facing jobs. Please know that we will continue to listen to your ideas as we work as quickly as possible to develop a plan to be shared with this board and with you, the public. So thank you for allowing me to start with that update.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on into public participation. I'll read our standard statement here, and that is that regular meetings are a time for the board to conduct its business. As a Board of Education, we are here to set goals, listen to reports of the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. The board tonight may hear public participation for up to 60 minutes. Public participation shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. One speaker cannot yield their time to another speaker. There will be no responses this evening to any questions or concerns raised. They are referred to the administration for review. As adults, we serve as positive role models for our students, so please be respectful of people. We ask speakers not to make defamatory comments or use abusive or vulgar language. Further, I'll just add, if the time limit for public comment portion expires, you can go on at any point to the public comment section on our website and submit your comments. And I think they're going to display the URL here, but it's listed where the Board of Education meeting announcements and agendas are. So, and it's displayed here now. So those comments will be sent to all the board. I know board members like myself will review them, also be reviewed by the superintendent and her team. So we will move on into this, and our first speaker, I leave it to you.
Our first speaker is Teresa Purdie.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Purdie, a teacher at Co-op High School. Over a month ago, I stood here to address the air conditioning situation at Co-op High School. Thank you for your swift response to alleviate the problems for this school year and for approving the July installation to make the necessary repairs. This shows what is possible when we prioritize students' learning and students' learning environment. Tonight, I address a more serious threat: proposed layoffs of library media specialists and other positions that involve direct interaction with students across New Haven high schools. These cuts undermine our children's future and well-being of New Haven. Our teachers are not merely instructors. They are mentors, they are role models, and they're the cornerstone of student growth. The impact of these layoffs extend far beyond the classroom. Larger class sizes mean less individual attention, which hinders academic progress and widens our achievement gaps. Furthermore, the loss of dedicated arts, literacy, and support staff would deprive students of essential resources and well-rounded education. Teachers' layoffs carry significant economic consequences for the New Haven community. These cuts displace dedicated professionals, destabilize our schools, and make New Haven less attractive to families. The ripple effects impact not only teachers, but families and the broader community. I understand that solving this problem will not be easy. It will require hard work, creativity, teamwork, and leadership. The leadership each of you have been entrusted to provide New Haven taxpayers, and most importantly, the children we teach. Instead of harmful staff reductions, alternatives need to be explored. I urge each one of your board members to please, 1, audit administrative waste and eliminate bureaucratic costs. Sell vacant properties to convert dormant assets into revenue. Overhaul underperforming contracts that waste taxpayers' money. I urge our city leaders and the Board of Education to invest in our schools and reject any proposal that includes teacher layoffs. Our children's education is not an expense to be trimmed. Rather, it is the most important investment we can all make. Let us stand together and send a clear message. New Haven values its educators. Thank you.
Next speaker, Ashley Stockton.
Good evening. I am a taxpayer, resident, teacher, and parent of 2 New Haven Public School students. In this moment, I'm going to speak from my perspective as a teacher, a kindergarten teacher. Every day, every year, I do more with less in my classroom. New Haven Public Schools has not provided the basic consumable supplies required to keep a kindergarten class running every day. File folders, paper towels, Ziploc bags, command strips. I provide all of these because they are needed. Though I was not provided with appropriate materials or support to perform the responsibilities of my job, 94% of the children in my class made growth in foundational reading this year. I do not continuously cite city leaders as the reason I cannot perform my job and achieve results. Rather, I problem solve and navigate within the variables I can control. Because of my working conditions, I purchase file folders, Ziploc bags, paper towels, and Clorox wipes regularly in order to do my job. Board members, do you regularly buy office supplies to perform your job? Do you add paper towels and Clorox wipes to your grocery list each week, knowing you are purchasing them, not for your household, but in order to bring them to your place of employment? I don't want to assume, but my guess is no. None of you currently work in a New Haven Public Schools classroom. This board is responsible for New Haven Public Schools. I have listened to city and school leaders continuously speak about Governor Lamont, and respectfully, please move forward and center Board of Ed meeting discussions, proposals, and votes on New Haven and the variables within your immediate influence and control. What has or has not been provided by the state can be relegated to other advocacy forums. Sometimes we all have to do more with less. A change to state funding was never promised, and therefore a budget mitigation plan causing the least harm to our New Haven students should be ready to go. Continuous blame of Governor Lamont is not solution driven, and it does not provide our children with what they need right now. Parents of the students in my class don't want to hear me say, I am unable to achieve results in my classroom because the city and the school district didn't provide me with what I need. I don't believe district leadership wants to hear me claim that my achievement data is below average or stagnant because NHPS and the city don't provide me with what I need. The expectation is for children to grow and achieve regardless of the barriers we face in the classroom every single day. Teachers are not asked why we can't produce results. Rather, we are expected to produce them no matter the circumstances. We don't want to hear that central office can't work with less. It is not a narrative that's resonating with anyone currently working and learning inside schools. Sell real estate, reduce central office personnel. Last week, executive management publicly stated they are.
Time.
I'll just finish my sentence. Last week, executive management publicly stated they are asking AI to perform their work for them. Given this, perhaps these positions aren't as essential as the student-facing personnel who have real interactions, real relationships, and provide real opportunities to real children every day.
Our next speaker is Janine Dianello. Our next speaker is Jennifer Graves.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Graves. I am a pre-K special ed teacher. I'm Vice President of New Haven Federation of Teachers. I want to start by acknowledging that this might be Mr. Musser's last Board of Ed meeting. It's been such an honor to watch you grow as a Board of Ed rep and as a leader in this district, and I really want to celebrate all of the work that you've done this year. Standing up here tonight feels like deja vu from 2019 when we were fighting against 53 layoffs. It's really sad that year after year we have to do this and defend cuts to our kids and lost opportunities in our schools. I recognize that a lot of hard decisions need to be made. New Haven Federation has launched a petition, and I'm going to take my time to read a portion of that petition here tonight. We call on Dr. Negron to hear from the community first before making any more cuts to our schools and classrooms. We call on Mayor Elicker and the New Haven Board of Ed to reject any layoff proposals that seek to cut student-facing positions from our school communities, that we implement the following budget mitigation strategies before any student-facing positions are cut, make cuts to the executive team and central office management positions. If we cut 5 management positions, we can save 12 student-facing positions at the school level. Freeze all administrative and management salaries and hires. Freeze spending for all travel and conferences for NHPS employees. Freeze contracts with vendors to provide professional development. Professional development can be planned and facilitated by supervisors and coordinators. Cap allocations for retention of lawyers and legal fees and ensure adherence by the Superintendent and Board of Education. Close and sell 21 Worcester Place. Authorize personnel from the Office of Academics to work out of our school buildings. Sell unused school buildings and discontinue payment of maintenance, utilities, and security. Assess and revise bus routes based upon current student usage. Increase permit fees for rentals of NHPS properties. I'll finish in just a second. Complete and publish a complete forensic audit of the Board of Education and release a complete detailed site-based budget with no hidden line items for the 25-26 fiscal school year. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jillian Lynch.
My name is Jillian Greco-Lynch. I'm the general music teacher at Nathan Hale School. I've been a teacher all in New Haven for 13 years. If you know me, you know that I am very well prepared, and I had an incredibly difficult time coming up with what to say tonight that hasn't already been said, but at the same time need to stand up and address a few things. I am glad to hear Dr. Negron acknowledge that there will be cuts to central office. That being said, I would like to hear more. The proposals that Jenny just read from NHFT are calling for common sense, cost-saving measures that wouldn't negatively impact students and keep our schools properly staffed. If we make cuts to teachers and paras, we cut into students' social and emotional growth and well-being when their trusted adults are removed from their lives, especially our paraprofessionals that are the lifeblood of our building. And I don't understand why the contract is taking as long as it's been taking. If we cut our library media specialists, we jeopardize our students' abilities to navigate a digital world responsibly, which only becomes more important as they age and become young adults. If we cut coaches, we cut out intervention time for students and vital support for our teachers. Our coaches are in the classroom. They are not locked behind a door. They're out there. They know all of our kids. They know all of our teachers, and they support all of us. If we cut arts teachers, we cut out our sense of community, our students' chances to develop teamwork skills, creativity, critical thinking, and even gross and fine motor skills. Eliminating any of these will burden the remaining student-facing staff with heavier workloads, some who are already on the edge of burnout. I have more and more friends telling me they want to leave every year, and I'm stuck in a place where sometimes I want to join them, and most of the time I want to stay and keep fighting because I wouldn't be here still if I didn't want that. The proposals from NHFT are calling for common sense, cost-saving measures, something as simple as rerouting the bus route. We have a bus where maybe 3 kids take the bus. Simple stuff. With that, I'll end there and just ask the board to please consider these things prior to any student-facing cuts. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ariana Buckley.
Greetings, everyone. I stand before you today as a proud public school teacher who has served New Haven for 31 years. 24 of those in high school as a high school English teacher, and the last 7 at Conti West Hills as a library media specialist. The end of the school year is here, and yet many of us are caught in an agonizing state of uncertainty. Will we be packing up our offices, saying farewell to the children we love and serve, and walking away from the work that fuels our passion? We still do not know if we're being laid off as a department. Those of us who are not dual certified may have no choice but to seek positions in other districts, though even that option is becoming limited. New Haven, Hartford, Bridgeport, 3 districts that educate 49% of the Black and brown students in Connecticut are all considering eliminating library services. This is not just a staffing issue. This is an issue of equity. Our libraries are more than shelves of books. They are spaces where students learn to research, to think critically, to access databases that expand their knowledge beyond the walls of their classrooms. The library is a place where all students can see themselves and know that they can seek sanctuary. Without these essential resources, we fail to prepare our students for the world ahead. At Conti West Hills, we are being right-sized. My library specials are a necessity. Without me, the schedule cannot function, period. Next year, there will not be enough teachers to cover specials, and without specials, the school will not comply with mandated prep periods for educators. I sat in a leadership meeting just today, listening as administrators struggled with the realization that they don't know how to build a schedule for next year if my position is eliminated. We deserve answers. We deserve respect. We deserve to know how the Alliance grant funding our salaries right now will be repurposed. What priorities have been deemed more essential than keeping fully functioning libraries in our schools? Uncertainty weighs heavily on all of us. The waiting has been difficult and the unknown is unsettling. But one thing remains clear. If our libraries disappear, our students, the ones who need them the most, will be the ones who suffer. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Claudine Chambers. Our next speaker is Heiklus Williams. Our next speaker is Annalise Jurgensen.
Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Annalise Jurgensen, and I am the School Library Media Specialist at FAME and East Rock Schools and a citizen of New Haven, Ward 25. I am extremely concerned about the possible layoffs of 129 student-facing positions, especially in libraries and arts. My elementary art teacher was my guardian angel. I was a geeky kid, but I felt a sense of belonging in Mrs. Hotchkiss's art classroom. She incorporated books into her lessons, which helped me fall in love with reading and literature. I credit her as one of the people who inspired me to study children's book illustration in college. Later, I became a school librarian because I wanted to use my love and knowledge of children's literature to directly help my students in my community. I think of my art teacher often when I work with my classes. Every day I strive to give my students what she gave to me: support, understanding, enthusiasm for learning, and encouragement to pursue dreams. As I and others have brought up, libraries and the arts have real academic benefits and are more than just nice breaks during the school day. Literacy is at a historic low, but libraries offer a large variety of curated texts for students to find what interests them and gain skills and confidence in their reading. In an age where people of all ages are faced with a constant barrage of misinformation, librarians teach critical thinking, internet and media literacy, and research skills. Visual arts classes help with developing eye-hand coordination and fine motor skills, which are currently in decline in American children. Many children struggle with regulating their emotions. Art encourages healthy self-expression and teaches problem-solving and creative thinking skills to help students work through setbacks and frustration. What saddens me most about the possibility of losing libraries and arts teachers, as well as reading and math coaches, paraeducators, and athletic and after-school programs, isn't strictly the academic aspect. It's the loss of community. When I think of the times I spent in Mrs. Hotchkiss's art room, I'm reminded of the old proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child." I come from a wonderful family, but my art teacher understood my creative tendencies more than many other adults in my life. She was a unique and important part of my village, and losing her would have broken my heart. Considering that not all students have safe or supportive home situations, breaking apart their school village with layoffs would not just be sad, but downright devastating. For some students, you may be eliminating their lifelines. To me, it seems cruel to take away the trusted adults in students' lives before exploring every other cost-saving option. Our students shouldn't have to lose the positive role models and mentors that shape their futures. These student-facing positions directly affect New Haven students' lives for the better. Please let our villages stay together. Our students need us. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Kim Rogers.
Good evening and thank you for your time. I'm the lead librarian for New Haven Public Schools, and I know we're all data-driven. We've all been to DataWise. In 21-22 school year, our librarians checked out 25,921 books. In 2022-23 school year, we upped it to 36,159. In the 23-24 school year, we upped it again to 36,603. This year, because we do this crazy thing every day, we show up and we do our jobs. We checked out 52,681 books. And that's just talking about the books we've checked out physically. That doesn't count the 9 schools that don't even have librarians right now, which should have full-time library media specialists. We are also checking out ebooks. We are working on databases. We subscribe to Gale Opposing Viewpoints for our high school, Gale Middle School Research for our middle school students. We have subscriptions to Encyclopedia Britannica, elementary and school edition, and we teach every single day. I respectfully ask you to think about the fact that we all have jobs to do. Your job right now is very important. You need to listen to the people in the room who have ideas and suggestions to help fix our problems. It is multifaceted. The governor could do more. The city could do more. I know you did a lot, but you could do a little more maybe. We can do more by looking at our line items and making those very visible. Yale could do more. It's not a one-person problem. Let's work together as a team because what we have in New Haven are the best people ever. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Katrina Jones. Our next speaker is Melody Gallagher.
Good evening. My name is Melody Gallagher. I'm a Wilbur-Cross teacher and a Ward 25 resident. I'd like to remind everyone that values dictate budgets. Morals are embedded in budgets. And student-facing cuts are avoidable. As an elected board, you have the ability to listen to the public and ensure that any cuts are made as far away from students as possible. Our community needs it. The future of New Haven needs it. 6 years ago, I stood outside the Board of Education with the rest of the New Haven community when upwards of 53 people were looking to be involuntarily transferred. At that time, 2 other elected positions were going to be cut at my school, and I was going to go from teaching 250 students to over 550 students. This is unsustainable, and yet it happens to this day to other teachers. And here we are again. I probably will not be somebody that is laid off, but that's also not the point. Students walk through my door every day, and I'm expected to teach them. And other people are expected to teach them. And if we're not fully staffed, that doesn't happen in a way in which all students are able to learn to the degree to which they should be able to. Whereas Lamont did what he did, we in New Haven can do what we need to do. And we can. This is avoidable. And that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Julia Miller.
Good evening, Dr. Negron, Mayor Elicker, and members of the Board of Education. My name is Julia Miller. I am a New Haven Public Schools teacher, parent, and graduate. I am also the 2025 New Haven and Connecticut Teacher of the Year. In this role, it is my job to represent the teaching profession across the state. I thus feel that I cannot in good conscience sit back and refrain from speaking out against the proposed layoffs to student-facing staff here in New Haven. Not only would such cuts be a blow to the profession, but most importantly, they would be devastating to our students. God knows we tried to fight for the state to change the educational cost sharing formula and to fairly and fully fund our schools. We rallied and testified and gave speeches and even got arrested. And we will continue the fight for however many months or years it takes. But in the meantime, as you all work to mitigate our budget deficit, a job I know is extraordinarily hard, I implore you to keep the cuts as far away from our children as possible. As recently as last year, we were advocating for increasing the number of library media specialists so that every school could have a full-time librarian. It feels incomprehensible that we are now talking about having none. I cannot fathom our school without our library and media specialist. Our LMS helps students find just right books. She trains senior TAs to create presentations supporting classroom research. She runs our makerspace, a place where students come for creative outlet and sanctuary. She runs a thriving book club and cultivates a culture of reading throughout the building. She facilitates professional learning for our staff. I'm honestly just scratching the surface of all that she does, and I'm sure, I know that the same can be said of all the dedicated educators whose positions are in jeopardy. Every child deserves to have a librarian at their school. How can we say we care about literacy and then eliminate librarians? Or our academic coaches, or our paras for that matter? How can we develop happy, well-rounded, and engaged students while decimating our arts programs and pulling back on athletics? How can we inspire the next generation of teachers when we are creating such challenging circumstances in which to teach? I have been proudly part of the development of one of our new college and career pathways in the district, the Education and Leadership Pathway. Students in my education class just finished their final projects, in fact, in which they had to identify an issue or problem that exists in schools, interview stakeholders about it, research literature around it, and propose recommendations to address it. And do you know what students pointed to? They wrote about a lack of sufficient arts, about wanting more extracurricular opportunities, about the need to continue to support students in danger of failing classes. They wrote about these things now, before the proposed cuts. Just imagine what their projects will look like next year if we allow these layoffs to occur. Additionally, as part of our Ed Pathway, our Grow Your Own program aims to encourage and prepare NHPS students to become teachers and come back to our district to teach. What jobs will they come back to if we're cutting positions? We are working so hard in the pathway to change the narrative, I'm almost done, that exists around teaching, which is one of the biggest impediments stopping students from wanting to enter the profession in the first place. If these cuts transpire and caseloads, class sizes, stress, and students' unmet needs all increase, it will be all the more challenging to recruit our students to become teachers, not to mention harm their current experience. So let's be creative, let's turn over every stone. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Linda Randy. Our next speaker is Jennifer Mitchell. Our next speaker is Janie Roth.
My name is Jane Roth. I'm a special ed teacher and a union steward for JCT for this building. And I have to admit that I am not a big fan of Governor Lamont. However, I think that if I had been in his position and seen the first proposal of the budget cuts, I might have reacted as he did and not wanted to fully fund the schools. The idea of first line cuts being student-facing positions is absolutely shameful. And I think the idea of cutting 129 teachers while still having a teacher retention specialist, who I'm sure is a lovely woman, is a living oxymoron. But I need to digress for just a moment and talk about the building conditions. Over the years, I have been steward in this building for quite a number of years and have written many, many emails about the conditions in this building and around and their surroundings. Today, another teacher sent me a picture, which I will leave with you, of syringes left in the parking lot, even though there's a syringe deposit right across the street from our school. We still have with the entrance in particular over on that side, directly across from the parking lot, is still being used as a public urinal and more. The cars are still being tampered with. Things have not changed. And I don't know how many more times I can bring this to anybody's attention. But aside from that, our worst problem at this point was on Thursday and Friday. Now, this should come as a shock to nobody. But our chillers, the chillers, when this building was first built, the proper chillers were not put on the building. And so every year, especially in more recent years, there have been breakdowns in the chillers. Well, Thursday and Friday, we had temperatures ranging in this building, in classrooms and offices, but in classrooms where children are, ranging from 85 to 95. Now, I checked with our school nurse. We have 100 asthmatic children, 76 of whom use inhalers. We have children in this building who are prone to seizures. I'm sorry.
It's time.
We have children in this building who are prone to seizures. We have children in this building who have other physical maladies for whom extreme temperatures like this are truly detrimental. I don't understand why our library media specialist had to send out a parent link rather than having our public relations person for New Haven send out a link informing parents that they should dress their children appropriately.
I'm sorry,
in
this is
short
time.
Short sleeves
I'm
and
s-
to bring water
I'm-
bottles.
I'm sorry, but this is time. Please finish your sentence.
Excuse me? I can't hear what, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Thank you. Your time is up, and I was asking you to please finish your sentence.
Okay, I didn't hear Dr. Joyner's. Was I supposed to hear you? Okay. That's pretty much it. But we need the next time, it's going to get hot again this week. It's going to get very hot. So we would hope that the public relations person would send information out to the parents of JCD and that our parents would be informed that their children can stay home if they need to and not have it count against them toward their attendance. Also, can we
That-
please
Ms.
have
Roth,
Sorry, but
that's
that-
time.
day?
I'm sorry, but that's time. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Lance Booth. Our next speaker is Dr. Lance Booth. Last call for Dr. Booth.
Good morning. Thank you to whomever signed me up. I'm Dr. Lance Boos. I'm currently teaching 7th grade science as a long-term sub at Conti West Hills. The position's been vacant for a number of years. I've filled it for the last 2, gone in every day, prepped the lessons, which is not my field, actually. My doctorate is in social studies and
Excuse
history.
me, I'm sorry to
so-
interrupt, but could
Yes.
we please start the countdown clock? Thank you. Please continue.
Working outside of my field, trying to do for those students every day, whatever I can. I'm planning on getting certified over the summer, waiting for the state to tell me what I need, so I'll be DSAP eligible. I want to stay in New Haven. With my PhD, I can go teach in college, I can teach in private schools, I could go to other districts that will pay me more and put me in classrooms that are better funded, better equipped, with better supplies, more supplies, with paper towels and Band-Aids and toilet paper and no mice and perhaps no mold, if we're lucky. I want to stay in New Haven. I live in New Haven. This is my community. These are the kids who need it the most. Help us to help them, please. Thank you.
Mr. Wilcox, this is our last speaker. Jafret Gonzalez.
Testing. Hello. Hello. My name is Jafet Gonzalez. I am a student at HSC and I am a junior. Okay. I am a boy who is proud of who I am. But to get here today, to build the courage to speak in front of you all, took work and guidance that I would have not gotten anywhere else but from my school. Since freshman year, I've been finding who I am. The first day of school, I walked through the building and there was a pride flag before the entrance. Now, who knows, maybe they put it up, but it won't reflect amongst their values. That's what I thought to myself as I walked into that building. HSC, a small school who does big things. And I became a big thing. My teachers became a big thing. And to me, and to most, our whole community became a big thing. I've been in the school for 3 years, and with each and every year, I have become more sure of who I was, who I am, and who I want to be. And it's because of the school that has become a home for me, and because of the open arms my teachers have. The place I call home is in the classrooms in which the educators you are trying to strip away teach in. All art teachers are way more than just art teachers. Librarians do so much more than just take care of books. Music teachers do so much more than just play music. Magnet resource teachers do so much than just supply resources. If just for one day, someone from the board took a step into our building, you wouldn't just see our librarians in the library, but you would see them helping our students who are participating in National History Day instead. If just for one day, someone from the board took a step into our building, you wouldn't see our magnet resource teacher sending emails, but you would see her planning almost all of our school events and working together with other staff to ensure our school is thrilling and exciting to walk into. If just for one day, someone from the board took a step into our building, you wouldn't see our art teacher painting, but instead you see her planning and helping with everything our seniors need in order to graduate. These teachers do so much more than just what's in their job description or what you believe they do. Our system wouldn't be the same if they were cut out of the picture. Just think about the mass shift our schools would endure if any of these cuts were to happen. These teachers aren't just teachers. So, like a wise person told me, the absence of something that has been consistent for so long leaves a bruise stronger than a physical one. And losing our teachers would directly harm students, not only at HSC, but in every school in New Haven. Thank you.
Mr. Wilcox, that concludes public comment.
Yes, that is the time allocated for public comment. I'll just remind everybody, first, thank you for everybody who took the time to come up and make a public comment. I will remind everybody that posted right on the website is the link where you can submit other public comments, and that will be submitted to the board and to the superintendent and her team. So we will move on into our agenda. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of May 27th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
It was moved by Dr. Joyner.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Downer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will go ahead and take a vote. Dr. Joyner? Yes. Ms. Downer?
Yes.
Dr. Benitez?
Yes.
Mayor Elicker?
Yes.
Mr. Juarez?
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough?
Yes.
Ms. Cologne?
Yes.
Mr. Musser?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the personnel report. Dr. Negron?
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Before I ask for your approval of tonight's personal report, keeping with my tradition, I would like to recognize some of our retirements. These are individuals who have dedicated over 25 years of service to the district. Starting with Harriet Alfred, music teacher, retiring at the end of the year after serving 38 years with the New Haven Public Schools. Also retiring at the end of the year, Simone Minichino Garofalo, grade 4 teacher who dedicated 30 years of service to the district. Patrick Smith, music teacher, also retiring on June 30th after serving 27 years. Linda Tucker, outreach worker, who will retire on actually retired already on October 1st after serving 35 years. And last but not least, Ms. Rita Worthy, or administrative assistant, who will retire on July 7th after servicing the district for 28 years. And with that, I ask for approval of tonight's personal report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Negron. Do I have a motion to approve the action items of the superintendent's personnel report?
Motion to approve.
It's been moved by Dr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Downer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will go ahead and take a vote. Dr. Joyner?
Yes.
Ms. Downer?
Yes.
Dr. Benitez?
Yes.
Mayor Elicker?
Yes.
Mr. Juarez?
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough?
Yes.
Ms. Cologne?
Yes.
Mr. Musser?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the revised 25-26 10-month calendar. Dr. Negron?
Board, I submitted a memo. We did receive the official date for the primary day in September. So because of that, we did have to switch the date. So this new calendar is asking for a revision to the 10-month calendar, which will reflect the primary day occurring on September 9th instead of the initial projection of September 16th.
All right, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve the
So
revised
moved.
calendar? It was,
Second.
moved by Dr. Joyner, I believe, seconded, but, oh, I'm sorry, it's moved by Mr. Juarez. Thank you for the correction. Seconded by Dr. Benitez, I think. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
I have one question. Is one of our unions has the right by contract to weigh in on calendar? Were they aware of this change?
Yes, all of this was communicated with our teachers union.
All right, thank you very much. Hearing, seeing no other questions or no hands raised, we'll go ahead and take a vote. So, Mr. Juarez?
Yes.
Dr. Benitez?
Yes.
Ms. Downer?
Yes.
Mayor Elicker?
Yes.
Dr. Joyner?
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough?
Yes.
Ms. Cologne?
Yes.
Mr. Musser?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion carries. Next item is the second reading for cell phones, electronic communication devices policy. Dr. Benitez?
Oh, yes. Good evening, Board of Education and the public. We would like to have, I'm making a motion to approve the phone policy as it reads. And I hope that we can get it approved.
All right, thank you, Dr. Benitez. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
It was seconded by Ms. Downer. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none, we will go ahead and vote. Dr. Benitez,
Yes.
Ms. Downer,
Yes.
Mayor Elicker,
Yes.
Dr. Joyner,
Yes.
Mr. Juarez,
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough,
Yes.
Ms. Cologne. Oh, she stepped out. Mr. Musser?
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion carries. Next item are the finance and operations. I'm sorry, you were in the room. Did you want to vote? I'm sorry, Ms. Cologne. Okay, Ms. Cologne was a yes as well, so. Thank you. I thought you had stepped out. Okay, so we'll move on into the finance and operations items. First off, would anybody like anything moved separately tonight? Hearing, seeing none, I'll go ahead and make the motion. I move that we approve the one abstract, the one agreement, the one purchase order, and the 15 contracts as outlined on our agenda.
Second.
It's been seconded by Dr. Benitez. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Dr. Benitez,
Yes.
Ms. Downer,
Yes.
Mayor Elicker,
Yes.
Dr. Joyner,
Yes.
Mr. Juarez,
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough,
Yes.
Ms. Cologne,
Yes.
Mr. Musser.
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is students report.
We can go on to the next one.
This will be fine.
Yeah. Next. Okay. So we had 28 we sent on a survey to citywide student council, just asking 3 questions about how the student representatives effectiveness, how would you rate the presentations given at citywide, and how would you rate citywide initiatives? Just for anyone who doesn't know, citywide student councils, where all the student councils in each New Haven public high school meet, and we all talk about a bunch of things happening in our school. And so these 28 responses were people that were voted in their school to be part of student council. Yes. Next slide. Okay. So for the first question, how would you rate the effectiveness of student representatives? A criticism is they would like to improve communication between schools leading up to certain events. Some people found that to be very unclear. There wasn't a lot of communication around that. And next. The events such as the March 19th event that we had where we brought 80 students to the Capitol, students coming on May 1st to the May Day event. We brought students again May 8th to the Capitol. Any other ones? Oh, and then also the walkout that was actually organized by 2 students outside of, well, one of them outside of student council. So showing that, you know, other students are also advocating. And then another thing is that we made news, got publicity, and organizers saw our actions. And yeah, next slide. And so the next question is, how would you rate the presentations given at student council? So a lot of people, some people wanted the content of the presentation to be clearer, and some people felt they were really long and irrelevant.
But some good things were some students mentioned the presentations were informational and on topic. Next slide. And then how would you rate how they rated the citywide initiative? So those events, a lot of students felt, again, like the communication could have been a little clearer, but a good thing was students felt very empowered. And a lot of students were able to make their voices heard. Next.
Yeah. So for some context, students were asked to answer on a Likert scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. And then they were asked to why they gave those, why they gave that rating. And the criticisms and stuff like that were basically me synthesizing the comments they made. And one of the last questions were, how would you like to improve citywide student council meetings and just in general student activism? And this is the long list we got. So some students are frustrated that there hasn't been any impactful changes yet. One student mentioned that when we went up to the Capitol, he was frustrated that the governor didn't meet us and that we were answered by a lawyer instead. And 7 districts went up and over 180 students were there with, they all signed a petition, and we didn't even get to speak to him, or we couldn't even hand the letter to him, listing our demands. A lot of students wanted increased advocacy, not only on the state level, but the local level, more specifically Yale University. And also more students wanted to get more engaged with staff, like the teachers union. And those are the things that stood out to me at least. Next slide, please. So our thoughts, me and Janelle's thoughts. Student activism in New Haven is on the rise. I mean, you can look at a lot of headlines, and we bring more than 50 students to every event. During March 19th, when we went up to the Capitol, like Janelle said, we brought 80 students. In May 8th, we brought, no, wait, was it?
May 19th. March 19th.
Yeah, what was the one after that?
May 8th.
No. Yeah, May Day. Okay, May Day, we brought around 100 students. And then for our walkout, we had 300 to 400 New Haven public school students come out and demand for a fully funded education. And what was most important about the walkout wasn't only the numbers, but the fact that me and Janali actually had barely anything to do in terms of organizing. I at least took a step back. I think Janali met to a couple meetings. I didn't go to a single one. And it was really led by people not only outside of the usual leadership, but also people outside of student council, which shows that the scope of advocacy is growing beyond the usual citywide student council people, which is really awesome. It's like shows that our momentum is having an effect on the student body. And we also are continuing to have meetings with the citywide student council general committee, which were the people who helped create presentations during the citywide student council meetings. The last meeting, which was from the survey, we actually was the first presentation ever made, or not ever made during my 2 years at least, that was made by more than the student representatives. Over 12 kids helped make that presentation and presented it to students. So we're including more students in the leadership as well. And the general citywide student council committee is going to continue to meet in the summer on a weekly basis. Next slide, please. So our thoughts also regarding social media, that was our main focus going into next year. Increasing communication between students, having infographics and posts about the events coming up and our thoughts, and also about details regarding logistics, like where to meet, and what we're advocating for. And also as a way to reach out to students outside of the student council bubble, which was another goal that our student council identified as, being student representatives. We're not just representatives for the students in the student council, but in the district. And so our goal is to reach as many students as possible and allow them or help try and get them to be able to advocate for themselves as well. But also I would like obviously, I would like, it's not great to see that we're having a lot of budget cuts. I would also like to say that a lot of, the librarians in my life, the paraeducators or the reading coaches. I had a reading coach in second grade. They were all essential in my growth. I would just like to recognize them. But also, in our district, I would also like to say that the citywide student council and the student representative position is the only reason why I could do this organizing in the first place. So I would like to appreciate the Board of Education for giving the students in New Haven the opportunity to be able to represent themselves on the board and to be able to take time out of the school day to come together and discuss ideas. Those things were like instrumental, not only going up to the Capitol, but continuing the momentum of advocacy. I'd also like to recognize Dr. Paul White, Miss Monica Abbott, and Mary Sullivan, as well as Leslie Plateau for their mentorship and their supervision. A lot of these things are pretty scary going into it. I've never organized 80 people going up to the Capitol before, so yeah. And I would also like to recognize the student organizers who made this possible. I had over 25 students help me organize throughout the year. And more specifically, I would like to recognize Abdullah Ali, who's helped me and Janali logistically a lot. He has set up meetings, he has given speeches, and he has contacted people for us. And without him, we wouldn't be here today with the amount of momentum we have. So just like to thank all those people. Is that it? Okay, thank you, that was all.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Colon and Mr. Musser. Are there any comments or questions? Dr. Benitez.
First, I want to thank all students for their hard work in making sure that their voice is heard and that they are part of the voice of New Haven. But I want to acknowledge Mr. Musser hard work and impactful work. I think we've had many students representatives who have done really good work, but I think the consistency and the organization that Mr. Musser uses to impact the work that he does is unique. I'm hoping that wherever life takes you next, you continue to do this work and that you continue to help other young people understand what is important in life and how they can impact the world that surrounds them, and that you must not just sit and wait for adults to make decisions, but that you influence others to do what you do, so that young people understand that it is their voice that will guide us all. So thank you, Mr. Musser. I can't wait to hear what you're up to next. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Benitez. Next is Dr. Joyner.
John Carlos, I've been around a lot of great leaders in my life. I was born and raised in the South and had the opportunity to work with Julian Bond, Dr. King's daughters, Malcolm X's daughters. And you are an exceptional human being with phenomenal wisdom and self-control and a great heart and a concern for humanity. I don't want this to be your last meeting because I recommended you for an award. And I told the people that the last meeting would be the last board meeting in June. I also was hoping that you would go to Wesleyan, but you know, you're gonna be good wherever you go. You could go to East Cupcake University and be a great person because it's already in you. You remind me of Julian Bond, and I would ask you to read a little bit about him. Julian Bond had the voice like yours. You have a broadcast quality voice. I don't know what you sounded like as a baby, but I think I would have been startled if baby came right out the womb talking like he does. I'm sure his mom was, oh, this kid is special. And the other thing about you is that I've never seen you get flustered. And that's not taught. I wish I had that. Some of you who know me know that I get flustered. But I've gotten to be 7, 8 years old and I've never been arrested, so I must not have gone too far with it. Close, came close. I'm gonna leave you with something that a rabbi, an ancient rabbi that I had, never met him, of course. He lived thousands of years ago. But I want you to be aware of this as you move through life. Rabbi Hillel said, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm not for others, what am I? And if not now, when? And so that balance between taking care of yourself as you're trying to help other people is critically important. In fact, if you find yourself working harder than the person that you're trying to help, then you might want to decide to move on to somebody else, because that can drain you and diminish what you would do as a whole. The other thing I like about you is the way that you have worked with Janelle and helped her along. And we haven't had a combination like this where both young people on the board are working the way that you guys work. We've had some good youth board members. But I guess the greatest thing I can say about you is that if I could choose my own grandkids, you'd be one of them. And I thank you for your service. And please come to the next board meeting. You don't have to stay, but just long enough so that, okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Joyner. Ms. Downer?
Yes, I just wanted to just echo what Dr. Joyner said and Dr. B said. I won't hold you long, but Mr. Musser, I really wish you the best as you go forward. You have really, really pioneered what lobbying is for education, and your resilience and perseverance, and the way you encourage student-led advocacy, especially for issues of climate change to education funding. Yes, you did lead, you and Janelle did lead students to Hartford, and that will forever be a mark on this state of Connecticut. So for all that you do in life, I wish you nothing but the best, nothing but the best. And we're gonna miss you, but make sure you come next month or the end of the month, the next meeting.
All right, thank you, Ms. Downer. Mayor Eller.
Just real quick, because a lot of people have already said things, but I work with a lot of students, and it's rare that a young person is so mature, is so motivated, and puts aside hanging out with friends and the fun stuff about being young to do a lot of hard work. And I've been just so deeply impressed by your organizing. There's been a lot of talk tonight about how little progress we made, but first of all, we did ensure that there was $40 million more in special education, $30 million in a new education cost share component for special education as well. And while when you break that down across the state, it isn't a lot of funding for New Haven. It lays the groundwork in the future for a lot more work. But I think while you learn a lot, one of the hardest lessons in organizing is things don't happen even in a year. It takes a lot of effort over a long period of time. And I think you and others here were very successful in educating a lot of people at the Capitol about the inequities in our system. And next year, when the legislative session comes along, they're going to be thinking, oh, here those folks come again. We got to make even more progress this year. And so you've given a real gift to New Haven with all of your advocacy, and we're grateful for it.
All right, thank you very much. President Yarborough.
Thank you. Thank you both for who you are and what you have done. And Mr. Musser, I want to say thank you and just acknowledge you've done one of the most difficult things, which is to multiply influence among your peers. Not only were you able to raise your hand and raise your voice and move your feet, but you worked with Janelle and enabled many others to do the same. So thank you very much for not allowing your impact to end with you, but to multiply through others. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Negron?
not gonna repeat everything, and I will make it short, but I just want to say, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for setting the bar, a high level of excellence of what it is to be a fully engaged student representative on the board. And I just love the way, and Dr. Joyner mentioned that, the way that you build capacity along the way, and the way that you sort of like mentor your colleague into the role. And it's been great. I know that you and I came onto this board at the same time. So it's just been great just to see your growth. So Janelle, now like you have to sort of like match that. But it's always great like to see, right, a good model. So again, Giancarlo, thank you for setting an amazing model for what this looks like. And I know I'm going to see you next board meeting. I know I will see you at graduation. So I'm not saying goodbye yet, but thank you.
Please. So I'm going to save my comments related specifically to Mr. Musser for next meetings. As you say, you are going to be here. So I will say, though, that just related to the student report tonight, I do appreciate the report on progress, kind of a year-end view of things from the student perspective, kind of really summarizing all the excellent work you and the students that you're representing, both the student representatives and the general student body. Thank you both for that. I hope that practice continues. I request that it's sent to the board and that it's posted as meeting materials in tonight's meeting so that public can, press and all can see that as well. And I think you both are setting a high bar as to what these positions are. I think when people fought and had student positions created, they were thinking about people like the both of you, and looking forward to hearing about your future successes. Thank you. All right. Anything else? Okay. Next we have is the rest of the superintendent's report. Dr. Negron.
Thank you. So keeping up with this theme of end of year, and thank you, student representatives, for showing the results of your own survey, because feedback is a gift. Our first presentation today, we want to take an opportunity to share the results of the climate survey. You may recall that because I want to build trust, and I want all of our staff to be able to submit feedback, we did engage a third party. So we do have a representative from Custom Insights today. Any staff that took the survey, all of that data went directly to this third party. That did not come to us to protect, again, the data. And Sophie is here with us today virtually. She's going to be walking us through the district-wide results. I am happy to share that overall, we are moving in the right direction. Of course, there's a lot of work that we have to do. After all, right, we have named climate and culture one of our 4 priorities inside of our path to excellence. After Sophie finishes, please know if there are any burning questions, you can ask her, but also encourage you to submit questions, and then we can bring those back to you. Because after that, we're going to have the amazing team from Troop also giving us an end of year presentation to share the amazing year that they have had in their journey of transformation. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Sophie.
Thank you, Dr. Negron. Hi, everybody. My name is Sophie Teitelbaum. I'm the Senior Director of Education and Equity at Custom Insight, and we have supported you for the past 2 years with your climate survey and look forward to continuing that work with you next year. I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me to this meeting. It has been such an honor to get to be here and hear from the broader New Haven Public Schools community. I work very closely with the district, and it was really nice to be able to I know how much teachers care about this district. I know how much the community cares about this district, and I really appreciate the opportunity for a broad public comment for people to continue to make their voices heard. And I was very inspired by the student presentation that was just given. So thank you so much for sharing that. Again, our work that we do is also about continuing to elevate the voices of all of the stakeholders at New Haven Public Schools, so teachers and staff, including the central office, students in grades 5 through 12, and parents and family members as well. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. All right, so here's a quick overview of the presentation. We'll start with the survey overview, just what was it, talk about the overall scores and a little bit of trends, and then we'll go through the student, then teacher and staff, and then family survey results, including discussing trends from last year to this year. So here is just general information to be aware of about the survey. We had about a month to complete the survey, which was a great amount of time, and it happened at a really good point in the year. There was a combination of climate survey items as well as employee engagement items, specifically for teachers and staff. Students in grades 5 through 12 were surveyed. Teachers and staff, including central office, and families of all students also had the opportunity to take the survey. The survey was also distributed in the languages that you see up here to reflect the languages that a majority of community members at New Haven Public Schools speak. So participation rates went up a lot this year, and that's because of the excellent work that happened across the district, both from a district level, but also I really want to commend the individual schools for all of the hard work that they put in to increase response rates. The student response rate nearly doubled from last year. Teachers and staff response rate went up 12% from last year, and the family response rate nearly tripled. Last year, it was about 1,000 families, whereas this year we're closer to 3,000 families who participated. Our overall score, I want to quickly just mention that the way the overall score is calculated for students and families is the same, and it's different for teachers. For students and families, we're looking at the percent positive. So this is on a Likert scale if you ranked it 4 or 5, meaning agree or strongly disagree. Whereas for teachers and staff, the score you see is a percentile score that is nationally normed. It is a benchmark across schools in across the country. And so what you can see here, which is pretty exciting, is that in every single category, we see significant gains since 2024, especially the work that's happening with teachers and staff. And it's evident that what is happening at New Haven Public Schools to improve things for teachers and staff, to create spaces for their voices to be heard and really act on their feedback, is making the change that we want to see. And I'd also like to add that New Haven Public Schools is actually going in the reverse direction, a much more positive direction than a lot of the data we've been seeing across other districts. For the student survey, just taking a moment, we asked a question where students could give an opportunity to list a couple of words that describe how they perceive and their experience at New Haven Public Schools. And there are lots of exciting words that jump out here to me: fun, good, challenging, helpful. And then there are some other things that need to, be dealt with. But really the positive things came to the surface. Some bright spots. So overall, there was a growth of 3% positive from last year. And one thing that you can see is that there have been gains in every single category across the board. And the largest gain that was made was actually in the learning environment, which also happens to be the highest score overall. A couple other bright spots. So multilingual learners are having a more positive experience at New Haven Public Schools than their peers who are not multilingual learners. And this is often not the trend that we see. This is sort of the reverse of a trend we typically see. And so I think it's because there's a lot of great support in place for multilingual learners. The same is also true for students in special education. We typically see that students in special education have a less positive experience than students in general education. However, at New Haven Public Schools, students in special education and students who are not in special education are having a consistently positive experience, which again speaks to all of the supports that are in place and all of the excellent work that's being done at each school. The growth areas overall, as you can see here, they all are in the category of belonging and community. Every single one has made slight gains this year across the district, but still belonging and community is definitely an area to continue to focus on for students, helping them feel more connected to their schools and to one another. Another growth area, which is different than what we saw last year, is students who identify as transgender and non-binary have this year had a significantly less positive experience at New Haven Public Schools, a gap which did not exist last year. We also are aware of what's happening in the broader conversation across the country. And so I also believe that some of that is influencing and affecting the experience that transgender and non-binary students are having at school, which means that we have to provide additional support and care. Another gap to be aware of is that our Latino and Black students at New Haven Public Schools are also having a less positive experience than white students at New Haven Public Schools. And so it's also important to really keep this racial gap in mind and think about what are the changes that we can make to improve the experiences of students who are not white in our district. Teacher and staff survey results. At Custom Insight, we use a framework called the CARE framework, and it is splitting the results into two main categories. On the left, you'll see culture of engagement and strategic alignment. These are the two factors that describe the overall relationship that an employee, a teacher or staff member has with New Haven Public Schools as an organization. Could also be their individual school. And then the right, which is motivating and relating and managing execution, that describes the relationship that a staff member has with their direct supervisor. First, and together, all four of those average out to create your overall score, which again is a percentile, not a percent positive. So I want to start with last year's results. Last year, the overall score, New Haven Public Schools was in the 45th percentile. This year, we see a massive increase where the overall results for teachers and staff is the 66th percentile. That's a 21 percentile point gain, which is pretty awesome. The main area to really focus on here is developing managers and leaders across the district. As you can see, those are the two areas that are a little bit lower. Again, I want to share all of the wonderful comments. These are again from the 3 words that teachers and staff got to share, and a few to call out that they feel that New Haven Public Schools is welcoming, inclusive, diverse, supportive, and collaborative. Sounds like a kind of district that any teacher would want to be at. So some bright spots here. These are the 3 items where New Haven Public Schools made the most growth across the district. There were a lot of changes made in support of having really good clarity around strategic goals and priorities and objectives. And I think that that really influenced the respect that employees had for management, because when we are all on the same ship, moving in the same direction, and we make choices based on those clear goals that are communicated, then it makes employees, it makes teachers and staff feel like leadership really knows what they're doing. And we've seen a real shift in that as goals have been clarified this year. A few other bright spots. On the top, you see the 23-24 scores. Just to explain this response distribution, people who are engaged and contributors, these are people who are pretty engaged in their work. They're pretty satisfied. They're helping out. They want to be here. And they are having a very good experience. The yellow stands for opportunities. These are people who care deeply about the organization, about their individual school, about New Haven Public Schools. These are employees we really, really want to help thrive. And currently, these are employees who are frustrated. And so it becomes, how do we really take their feedback and hear from them and then make changes based on their feedback? And we see a lot of that already happening, because what you can see is there has been a huge shift, a positive shift in engagement from last year until this year. Employees across the district are much, much more engaged. Again, speaking to the excellent leadership and what's happening across the district. A few growth areas. I'm going to put this up here. You're welcome to take a look and read it while I'm looking at it. I want to note that the top one, I have a clear understanding of my school's values and behavioral standards. There has been huge gains since last year. The black bar you see with the side line, the vertical line is last year's score, and then the colored bar is this year's score. So it's made a lot of progress, this specific item. However, this item is still the lowest scoring item, and last year it was also the lowest scoring item. So everything is moving in the right direction. And like Dr. Negron said, there's still more work to be done. So some district-wide trends. This is all demographic data. This is a pretty atypical distribution that we are seeing here. The way that to read this graph, the y-axis is the relationship teachers and staff have to the organization, so to New Haven Public Schools, and the x-axis is their relationship to their direct supervisor. And what we see here is there's a really strong correlation in employee engagement, employee satisfaction between how solid their relationship is with their manager and how strong the relationship is with the organization. So district trends by role. So principals, which is number 53, all the way up at the top here, are having a very different experience, a much more positive experience than their teachers. 57 and 59 are both special education teachers and general education teachers. And so this is not atypical to see that the leaders are having a better experience and are more engaged than employees are. And it's something to keep an eye on because teachers are the ones who are in the trenches every single day and the ones directly working with students and supporting students. And so it's really important that we continue to improve their experience because we need good teachers to stay. And we want to continue to leverage everything that they share with us and include them in the decision-making to make our schools a much stronger organization as we continue in that direction. Another thing to note, and this is not surprising given what we've seen with the spike of behaviors since COVID, which is school social workers, school psychologists, and guidance counselors are kind of this cluster of roles of people who are struggling. And I think it's worthwhile taking a look about how do we make sure that we are better supporting our employees in these roles because of such essential services that they are providing directly to students and how critical their roles are in our schools to create healthy schools. Family survey results. So the overall family score is 82%, which is up 11 points, 11% since last year. Overall, the bright spot is every single category has made significant gains. And specifically, I want to call out bullying and safety has made the highest gain, which is great. It was one of the lower categories last year, and it is right up there with strong overall. Now our growth areas. One bright spot to note about the growth areas, again, every single item is moving in the wrong direction, which means across the board, things in climate and culture at New Haven Public Schools are moving in the right direction. But these are just some opportunities to continue to make progress and growth, specifically thinking about taking each of these and thinking about how do we continue to build on the changes we're already making because we're moving in the right direction. So it's not about throwing it out. It's about really figuring out what we do moving forward. And that is all you have from me for today. I want to be respectful of your time. And I know Dr. Negron said if there were a couple of questions that I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, you're welcome to submit them to Dr. Negron and to the board. They'll tell you how to do that. And then they can come to us and I'm happy to respond to them.
All right, thank you. Were there comments or questions? And I'm not able to see our online participants. If you... All right, the one question I have is, or the comment is that I appreciate the presentation and would also ask that it is posted with the meeting materials for tonight's meeting if it hasn't been already. And my question for the superintendent is we tend to have these also posted on the website along with more information. And I was wondering if that practice was going to continue.
That is correct, Mr. Wilcox.
All right, thank you. All right, seeing no other questions, Dr. Negron?
Thank you again, Sophie, for your time with us. My second report, again, we know that we enter into a Commissioners Network turnaround plan over at Alfred Troop School. And I want to first acknowledge Assistant Superintendent Christina Denegri, who spent a lot of time helping the administration over at Troop think about the concept of what it was that we wanted to submit in terms of the application to the state. From there, Principal Foreman spent hours really thinking about his vision for how to transform Troop into the place that every child deserves. And I know today when I walked over and I asked the team, how I told them how proud I am of the work, and you're going to hear about their journey. And Principal Foreman said he's very tired. And of course he is, because it has been a lot of focused work from the moment the application was submitted to the intentionality that the team worked on to put it into action. So again, tonight, I want to invite the team from Troop to, again, just share the journey with you, the board, and the public.
Thank you, Dr. Negron. Good evening. Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to present before you. My name is Eugene Foreman. I am the proud principal of Augusta Lewis Troop School. As you are aware, thank you. And those are some of my staff members over there who have helped contribute to the growth that we have had. So we can give them a round of applause as well. As you are aware, this is our first year as part of the Commissioners Network. We began the year with new staff and 3 priorities. One, strengthen Tier 1 instruction. 2, decrease chronic absenteeism. And 3, improve the climate and culture of Troop. In addition, we had a focus of writing across the curriculum. This evening, my team and I are going to take you on a journey of how we are transforming Troop. With me, I have Ms. Caroline Apgar, my assistant principal, Mr. Dejan Jett, our climate and culture specialist, Mrs. Keisha Hogan, our math coach, and Ms. Amanda Alonzi, our literacy coach. They will provide further information about how our Commissioners Network provide further information about our Commissioners Network priorities. So before they start, of course, we have our strategic operating plan here that Dr. Negron is heavily ingraining, putting in our heads. So we're getting this, so we have it on our slides as well. Can we get the next slide? So our expenditures for the year so far, we had a partnership with Learn, who helped us with our writing across the curriculum portion. We did a restorative practices professional learning with Joe Brummer. We paid for the salary of our climate and culture specialist. We had a boundless literacy tutor in our building full-time, and we had extra time with teachers. So we had some morning meetings and some additional afternoon meetings, and we had some rebranding efforts. So now I'll turn it over to Caroline Apgar.
Good evening. As Principal Foreman shared, the grant through Commissioners Network allowed us to both increase our partnerships as well as reimagine the time that we have with our staff. This year, we've had 2 morning meetings each week. As a result, we have shifted our collaborative time from being grade level meetings in isolation to having vertical team meetings in cohorts that include our special education and TESOL staff on topics related to literacy, math, and climate and culture. Previously, these were done more in isolation. By meeting each morning, it ensures that our common goals and strategies meet our students across the school day. We also have an additional staff meeting, which allowed us to increase our partnerships. We worked on increasing writing opportunities across the curriculum, integrating more restorative practices, and again, making our vision come to life. We've established more common classroom practices, and walkthroughs. These walkthroughs increased in both frequency and the timeliness of feedback and directly related back to the morning meeting and staff meeting content. We established common classroom look-fors with our staff input on what strong implementation looks like and use these as the groundwork for our time with our CSDE staff, Assistant Superintendent Denegri, multiple district supervisors, and of course, our in-building and on-the-ground coaches. The results of these walkthroughs then informed our upcoming morning meetings and other professional learning opportunities, meaning that we continue to see growth in both teacher practice and student outcomes. Additionally, all of our staff engaged in one or more coaching cycles with our school coaches to improve their practices as well. This year, we launched Grade 5 and DataWise with a focus on writing to align with our writing across the curriculum focus. Additionally, under the agreed upon work rules, we've also increased the number of family engagement activities. And as a result, we resulted in at least 3 to 4 different events that had over 100 people in attendance. And as a result, over a quarter of our classrooms saw over 75% of families turned out to one or more of our report card conferences. We strongly believe that the work that we were able to conduct over this year is going to lead to all of the successes that the rest of the team will share.
All right, so at the start of the year, we set out with a clear goal to create learning environments where students feel safe, supported, and seen. And so I'm proud to say that through a collective school-wide effort, our chronic absenteeism rate went down to, or is currently at 33.7%. And so that's definitely a clap for that, because this time last year we were at 48.47 and climbing. And so that didn't happen by chance. It was the result of consistent outreach, positive attendance campaigns, daily, monthly, weekly, quarterly, meaningful adult-student connections, and a relentless belief that our students belong in school every day. But culture and climate is about more than just attendance. It's about engagement. This year, our students participated in over 20 learning expeditions across the state and beyond. For many of our students, it was their first time on a coach bus, their first time leaving the city of New Haven, and even the first time traveling outside of the state of Connecticut. From exploring marine life at Mystic Aquarium to experiencing history firsthand at Old Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts and walking through Times Square, these trips weren't just memorable, they were intentional, building background knowledge, sparking curiosity, and expanding what students see as possible for their futures. Our students engaged in hands-on real-world learning experiences, from coding and art making to environmental exploration and storytelling, connecting classroom content to the world around them in meaningful and memorable ways. Whether it was math night, family game night, or open gym, families weren't just invited, they were involved. We worked to rebuild trust, break down barriers, and ensure that every family felt like they had a place at the table. And internally, we've been just as intentional. Our staff has led with love and consistency. We've celebrated student success through Rockstar Fridays. We've modeled high expectations for our students because we know they can, and embraced restorative practices that prioritize relationships over punishment. This work has been intentional, it has been collective, and it has been transformative. At Troop, we truly believe every child deserves to walk in a building where they are celebrated, challenged, and cared for, and that belief has guided us every step of the way as we've gone along this journey, which is a true testament to all of us being at work early this morning, going to a staff meeting, and then still being here tonight to show how much we care and stand for our students.
Good evening. My name is Keisha Hogan. I am the math coach at Troop. The data that you are going to see in these slides is really a testament to all of the wonderful things that we've done throughout the year. And I'd also like to send a shout out to my supervisor, Ms. Monica Joyner, and her support in helping me make math more visible at Troop. So as I dive into our data, I'd like to point out that the graph up top is from this time last year. The graph on the bottom is our current data. So as you'll see, we have a 10% increase of students who are currently on grade level and a 7% decrease for students who are 2 or more grade levels below. And we've seen some shifting from 1 grade level up to on grade level. So a lot of good changes happening in just our first year of being a part of the Commissioners Network. And I'd like to shout out the wonderful teachers at Troop who have made this happen. It has not been easy, but we put in a lot of work, and our results are showing for themselves. So here is our data comparing from beginning of the year to end of year. Again, we're seeing major shifts. We are seeing the same trend where we are closing the achievement gap and moving students to grade level proficiency. At the beginning of the year, we started with almost 75% of our students 2 or more grade levels below and have managed to decrease that number to 48%. So a change of 25% of our students making growth in bands and coming closer to being on grade level. Looking at that bottom table, out of our entire school, we have 47% of our students meet their typical growth goal, which is essentially meaning that they have reached at least 1 full year worth of growth in math. I would like to highlight our multilingual learners. 57% of those students met their typical growth goal and 42% of our special education students. So everyone, no matter their demographic, is making growth and progress, and we can't wait to see that increase for next year. Of our 47% of students who achieved their typical growth goal, again, meaning 1 year's worth of growth, 71% of those students also reached their stretch growth goal, which equates to 1.5 years worth of growth. And so for us, that is triple the amount of students that we had at this very same time last year. So a lot of amazing growth happening there. And then my last point is that based on those 3 demographics that you see at the bottom, each of those numbers is actually up by 10%, again, compared to where we were last year. And I like to think that a lot of this growth that we're seeing is attributed to those extra morning meetings that we've had and the time that I've also had to welcome in the special education team and Ms. Beardsley, our TESOL teacher, so that they can also receive the math training that I've been delivering to teachers. But now it's everyone's on board and everyone's getting the same information. And so we've worked through how to implement the iReady program properly and how to then use those data reports to make sure that we are accelerating student growth. So I would just like to, again, give a big shout out to the Troop team and congratulations on a first year in the Commissioners Network.
Hello, my name is Amanda Alonzi. I'm the literacy coach. So we spent a lot of time this year really focusing on our K-3, because as you know, we don't catch them when they're first coming into the building. We're working behind schedule. And so I put up in the top corner of the graph what a typical tiered system should look like at an elementary school, with 80% of the students in the school being at tier 1, 15% being at tier 2, meaning they need a little bit of extra support, and then about 5% of your school being at tier 3, which means that they need daily intervention and support. Troop is in the Commissioners Network because our triangle is inverted. So our students in the red is much larger than the students needing tier 3 support is much larger than the students needing tier 1, right? So if you look at the beginning of the year, the literacy department has added some different assessments this year, which has been amazingly helpful for us. So I don't have year over year data because it would be inconsistent with the testing. But so I just put this year. If you can look at the number of kids that need tier 3 support, that was 71% of our students going into this school year that needed tier 3 support. That's a lot more than what a para and a classroom teacher can do, right? But if you look at the end of the year, we have significantly shifted the number of students, not just in the yellow, because the yellow is kind of the same, the tier 2 is kind of the same, but that green tier, the students needing limited supports, has grown significantly across the K-3. And if I had more slides and put you just our kindergarten or just our K-1, that green would have shifted a lot bigger. And so we would have a lot less students who need tier 3 support this school year. And we're very excited about that. And our first grade teachers are going to have some work to do to make sure that they maintain that next year. But we're happy, we're ready for the challenge. So the things that really were important to us that have been changed for this school year, Ms. Hogan already talked about it, but our morning meeting time has been incredibly valuable. There's no teachers coming late to the meetings because a student needs some support. There's no administrators need to be pulled for certain issues like it happens before school. So we're able to really attend to the teachers and everybody's there. The special ed teachers are there. Our Ms. Beardsley is there. And it really makes a big difference for us. The other thing is, of course, our teachers, they came in with a mindset this year that they were going to try everything we put in front of them and say,
yeah, like, let's try it. Let's do something different. Let's see what works. Let's adjust. And we adjusted and we moved and we looked at our progress and we said, we're not quite there. We couldn't do that without the teachers. So, you know, we've already shouted them out, but there's our lovely team, some team members. Mr. Foreman also allowed us to get a boundless literacy tutor. This is an Orton Gillingham trained tutor that teaches structured literacy. She did the main part of her focus in 2nd and 3rd grade with our students who needed that tier 3 support. And she just is focused and attentive, and it has been really worth it to see the data for those kids that are growing. And we also had a tutor in 1st grade to cover that group of kids. And then, you know, we also did a foundations reset. Foundations has been in the district as long as I've been in the district. And as you know, programming kind of shifts and changes, and we sort of stopped using certain pieces, and we did a whole reset, and I was only able to do that because of the training time I had with teachers. We talked about coaching cycles. And then there was also like a lot of push-ins for coaches in classrooms working with students directly to make sure that we're catching every kid, given the resources that we had in the building. We're one of those resources. So with that, we can turn to the next slide. So I also put up the slide for our middle school. So this is the 3rd through 8th grade results for winter to spring. Although our achievement was flat in the upper grades, what we did see was pretty significant growth. If you look at the yellow, the green, and the blue, those are students who are meeting their growth goals or exceeding their growth goals for their RIT score, which is how this test is measured. So 48% of our students showed more than projected growth on their MAP in 3rd through 8th grade. And then out of those 48%, 33% exceeded their goal. So we, you know, I wouldn't be a literacy coach without saying we have work to do, because we do. And we have to continue to focus. We have seemed to find a working strategy for our lower grades. We have to continue to focus on our upper grades to make sure that we're meeting their needs and continuing to make these growths that we are looking forward to for next year.
So before we end, we have one teacher who was online she wanted to talk during public comment, so she just wanted to add something. Yeah, Keisha.
He's coming on now. She declined to be, Ms. Gilliams declined to be a panelist.
Okay. So as, you know, so that was our presentation, but as it's known, you know, there's always room for growth. This is just the beginning. You know, we're pleased with the growth that we've made so far. We're actually looking forward to next year. A lot of teachers are already planning what they want to start with for next year, which is good. But this is where we are. So I wanted you to come along on our transformation journey. So thank you for allowing us to present. And again, thank you to my staff there and my staff here, because I couldn't do this work without all of them. Thank you.
So again, Mr. Principal Foreman and the entire leadership team at Troop, the amazing, dedicated, committed teachers of Troop. I hope you feel rewarded in seeing the impact that you're having. Again, as we have indicated, we know there's a lot more to do, but we are seeing what it looks like when we have one plan, when we are all focused around the same plan, and we are all working in collaboration towards getting there. Again, I want to commend you, because this is a great sign of what is to come. And again, we all realize, right? We don't want to be premature, but again, when we work hard, we have to also take time to reflect and celebrate the small wins. And that's exactly what we're doing today. We are pausing, we are reflecting, so we can celebrate the amazing impact that your work, all of your work, is having on our children and all of our children, as you have indicated in the way that you disaggregated the data. So again, thank you so much. And with that, that does conclude my presentation today.
All right, so we'll take time for comments and questions versus Dr. Benitez.
I have to commend the staff at Troop. I am so proud. I have to share with you that many years ago, I had asked your principal to take a leap and do this work as a principalship. And I am so glad he did, because he's an awesome human being who deserves to lead a building. So I want to congratulate him, but for more than that, I want to congratulate your team. Thank you for your work. Thank you for believing in our children. Thank you for taking the time to not only do your work, but to put that twist to it that makes your data change a trajectory that we've seen in the past, but it's not happening now. So thank you very much. I am so proud of all of you. You have no idea how New Haven is so dear to my heart, especially buildings like Troop, that were buildings that I supervise and that I know are good people working.
It looks like we lost, or she lost her connection. So, okay, any other comments or questions? I'll just finish by saying thank you very much for this presentation, and thank you all for being here. I know you've had long days. You're gonna have another long one tomorrow. So I really am impressed with the turnout. And I'm also impressed with the turnout in the changing numbers, things moving in the great direction, and showing that when the state realizes a school needs some targeted help and they provide the resources, staff step up and utilize those resources to great effect. And I thank you all for showing what we're trying to get across to a lot of people, which is numbers move in the right direction when the resources provide the people and the extra supports. So thank you all very much for that. Okay. All right. Seeing no other hands, we'll move on. President's report. President Yarborough was not able to stay on the call. I will just say on his behalf that note to the board to he's going to be reaching out. We have a need for a special board meeting to approve a part-time custodial contract, to discuss it and possibly approve that. So he'll be reaching out on that to get availability. So next on the agenda is teaching and learning report. Dr. Joyner.
I was going to save my comments for Troop to this time because what Mr. Foreman and his staff are doing over there is exactly what people can do when they get the resources. And sometimes they do it despite not having those resources. I was fortunate enough to know Eugene Foreman when he was a high school student. And we went on a college tour and we spent about a week together. And I knew right then and there that this was a young man that was committed to not only helping himself, but helping others. And I think that's a unique quality in urban educators. They typically come into urban communities, most do, with the idea that they want to change the world. They're concerned about inequity and injustice, and they typically hang in there. When I was at Sacred Heart, I had over 100+ teacher education majors, and only 3 said they wanted to work in an urban community. And many others said that they would work there until they found a job in another place where they really wanted to work. That's real. But not only do I know about Mr. Foreman, but I also went to high school with, I went to 1st through 12th grade with Deshaun's Aunt Carolyn. We're from the same town in North Carolina, Farmville. And Farmville sent 11 slaves to fight in the Union Army in the Civil War, so there must be something special about Farmville. What he's doing has a price tag. And what I've found in my school reform work across the country is that oftentimes states and even the federal government will subsidize schools that are suffering. And then when they start achieving, they pull the money away. That's real. If you did that in hospitals, then the death rate would be much, much higher. And Troop is an example of what all of our schools need in order to help children who are born in unwelcome places with unearned disadvantages. That's what Troop needs. And I can testify about Troop because my great nieces, one is still there, and the other one's an honor student at Wilbur Cross High School. And these are my great nieces. They're not even nieces. There's 3 generations. And when my nephew could have taken, my great nephew, because his mother's my niece, when my nephew could have taken them out of Troop, he said that they have a great principal and they have great teachers. Unfortunately, when you talk about needles on campuses, that has nothing to do with the principal. And when you talk about homeless people sleeping in areas outside of school, that has nothing to do with the principal. It is a symptom of the kinds of problems that we have in urban communities that require support. And so I can't say enough about what you're doing, because you guys are the next generation of revolutionaries who will change this country back, I hope. Well, you're doing it as long as you're here, and I'm sure you'll figure out a way to do a little something even when you retire, because that's who you are. Okay, there you go. Thank you so much. The Teaching and Learning Committee met, and we had a presentation on welcoming by Dr. Jimmy Joseph Lumpkin. And the fact that the superintendent has said that we should welcome every single person who comes to this system is really important. And the question I always ask at the end of every teaching and learning meeting is that, do we have a policy? Is it adequate, or do we need to change or create new policy? Because in order to work from the same playbook, we have to have policies that really protect those things that we are really interested in protecting, and eliminate those things that don't work for us. And so that was a great presentation. I'm hoping that at some point we can do an abbreviated version of that presentation so that you'll see how schools like Troop and Edgewood and others welcome children and their families to our school system. Bear in mind that most of the kids that we get coming into New Haven are coming from countries where they have been under duress, or if they're internal immigrants, migrants, they're coming from situations where they have been under duress. And since schools are nested in multiple layers of influence, what the president says about education, what the secretary of education says about education, what the governor does about education, what mayors do about education, and what superintendents do about education has an impact on kids in schools. You can't deny it. And thankfully, we are a system that really believes in welcoming human beings and doing the best we can for them. And I'm hoping that we can do a bit more with trans and non-binary students, with Black students. Because if you think about both of those groups, oftentimes the home environment for a lot of trans and non-binary students is more hostile than the school. And in many cases, they can't find sanctuary in religious institutions. So sometimes the only place that welcomes them, that tries to understand who they are and recognize that their character is more important than their trans or binary status. Sometimes it's a caring teacher or counselor or administrator in the school system, like ours. So the burden is not just on the school to improve the way people feel about themselves. The burden is on all of us, as well as people in high places that can make a big difference. So we are working diligently on that. And my next concern with teaching and learning is student conduct. Because if we can get kids to be responsible, respectful, and to work hard, they can do just about anything. But if we're gonna allow students to be disruptive and act against their own best interests and the interests of their peers and staff, then that's a problem. So I'm hoping that we can look at the student code of conduct, look at what's actually going on in our schools with regard to outliers, people at the extreme levels of behavior that can really wreck a classroom and a school and a community. So that concludes my report, and I thank all the members of the committee, Dr. Red Hannons and that crew for the good work they do in teaching and learning, and Dr. Negron for your support.
All right, thank you very much. Comments or questions? Hearing none. Facilities naming report, Dr. Joyner.
Good news, we have a proposed design for the name of the floor at the Floridal Athletic Center. I don't know if I've sent it to any of you guys yet, but I want to give a shout out to Eric for the hard work that he does as an AD and to make all this stuff possible. So I'll try to send it to you before I go to bed tonight. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. Next item, would be very brief Head Start report. Our next meeting is going to be on Friday, June 20th, because of Juneteenth. So time is to be determined probably in late afternoon on that Friday. Citywide Building and Stewardship Committee, that meeting is set for this coming Thursday. And then finally, for me here, the Finance and Operations, the minutes are posted. Our next meeting for that is moved to 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday, June 17th, moving it for Monday due to all the graduations that it was conflicting with and various people needing to be at those. Wonderful celebrations. And then also it's moving to 3:30 because there's also more graduations on the Tuesday. I'll just mention that one thing I wanted to make sure that the board is aware of is that we did discuss, we're working on, or the district and others are working on resolutions to surplus and return to the city West Rock School and also Quinnipiac School which is on 460 Lexington. Those will be coming back to going to Citywide this week, Finance and Operations next week, and to the full board, presumably 2 weeks from now. So progress is being made on that. Any comments or questions? Next item on the agenda is the governance report. Dr. Benitez.
Good evening, Board of Ed and community. I just want to make sure that you all know that today we are submitting 5114, which is an expulsion and exclusion policy that has been amended due to new legislation and new information from CAPE, Connecticut Association of Board of Educations, and we are submitting that for a first reading due to the changes. I thank you all for your hard work in making sure that these policies are updated, and I continue to encourage all committees that are engaged in updating our policies to continue to submit them to our governance committee. And I want to thank Mr. Juarez and Ms. Downer for their hard work and Ms. Tiffany Jackson for her support in our endeavor of updating our policies. Thank you very much. And please remember that when we go to second reading, I usually expect that we are able to vote on them. So please take careful attention to the first reading of this expulsion and exclusion policy 5114. And if you have any concerns, please let us know. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next item is the Food Service Task Group. There's no report. That next meeting is this coming Wednesday at 4 p.m. And finally, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Dr. Joyner, seconded by Ms. Downer. We will vote. Dr. Joyner,
Yes.
Ms. Downer,
Yes.
Dr. Benitez,
Yes.
Mr. Juarez,
Yes.
and Mayor Elicker.
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.